Now, people who've seen you working on the set have written that you're a very technical actress, always conscious of the camera and so on and so forth. But at the same time, you give a sustained emotional performance. How do these two go together?
Well, I've never actually ever been very bright about the camera and the technical part. Mm-hmm. You know, this is one thing I've not coped with. I've had quite hard enough time to do my part of it. The only time I ever sort of have a problem with the camera is if I notice it.
Yeah.
You see, this is awkward. As far as the emotional continuity is concerned, this is really training. This is the hardest thing, of course, for the theater actress to do.
Yes.
When she starts in films. We talked about that a little earlier. To leave off for half an hour and come back and hit the same pitch. And I would feel sort of much more pleased with myself if I could do it, if so many others couldn't also. It's really a training that one must work on very hard.
Yes.
And actually, George Arliss, who was my great mentor at the time when Hollywood was about kafoofed for me, gave me a very good hint once. He said, never make a scene in front of a camera that you don't remember what went before and what went after. Yeah. Then it will usually tie in. Yeah. In other words, just don't sort of go in without reviewing in your mind exactly how it was.
Yeah. But the technical thing of getting your marks and at the same time sustaining emotion.
That is practice. You are honestly, I don't really know how we do it.
Yeah.
Because you must do it without ever looking. It becomes an instinct, I feel, finally. Not at first. This is extremely hog-tying at first, you know. You feel like a puppet, so that can't move.
Now let's talk for a moment about the character you played. I read on a poster once that nobody's as good as Bette Davis when she's bad. You have played quite a number of bad women. Is it because you think playing nice women is dull?
Well, of course, I sort of never call them bad women. I have a theory that no one person is all bad and no one person is all good. The only requirement I have is the character, at least, is definite, whether good or bad. I think the more definite people tend to have more sort of evil traits, the more interesting people.
Yes.
And that is probably why.
Now, in these very different characters that you play, how do you get into the character? How do you set about it?
Oh, I just think you pray half the time. You know, I don't think there's much planning that you can do. If you do a Somerset Maugham story, like of human bondage, you practically have a textbook. This is different. I mean, you read this book and you know this character from what he said inside and out, which makes it easier. With an original character, it's sort of your own ideas of her and just thinking, trying to think the way she did. I don't know.
There's a school of thought that thinks that actors should completely identify with themselves with a character. I think it's called the method. Do you approve of this?
Well, no, I don't. Because it probably dates me that it's just not for me. I must be fair and say, maybe it is for some people. But I think it's a very untheatrical kind of acting.
Yeah.
You know, not that I don't think films, prime requisite is a certain reality, but there is a certain way of giving a performance to your audience. And I think this is a little bit like peeking through keyholes at real life. I just don't really understand it at all. Don't like it, I must say. I don't. Oh, well, wanting to be an actress is just, if you want to, you must. It's kind of I guess it's a kind of a drive, and it's a thing that you absolutely have to do.
Do you think people can be happier doing something else? I mean, have you...
No, I think one is happiest doing what one must do.
Yeah.
You know, I really think I've been an incredibly fortunate person and had a most wonderfully happy life as regards the accomplishment of my life. I don't think it's an easy life, you know, I must say.
Yeah.
Why don't we go in and have some tea?
Good idea, thank you. Now, your success has given you the authority to choose your director and your story. What do you look for first when you're considering a new film?
Well, I try to be very honest and worry most about the story. And I think increasingly in our business, since the years I started, the story has become the more important thing. Yeah. And I think for the most part, I have been able to. One also has to say one considers the part as well. But I think of the two today, I would prefer the story that I think the audience would like.
Yeah.
I think that's the picture that's selling today more than just a story that features a sensational performance, which once I must say we could get away with.
Yeah.
But I don't feel any longer.
You've starred with some very distinguished leading men. What are the qualities that you would consider the most important in a leading man?
Oh. Well, I think that he's a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that I think that he's a good actor, and I must say it's an enormous help to me if he enjoys acting,
Mm-hmm.
because this makes the film a much happier thing to make.
Yes.
It's basically.
Would you say it's important to like somebody you're playing with off-screen, or do you just consider
No,
them as characters?
I think that is. I think one would be very limited to think that way. I think there's nothing to do with whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think the talent is the whole thing. Because many sort of unpleasant people are very talented. You know, one would limit oneself very much, I think, if one cared how much one liked somebody personally.